If this bull market cycle isn't over, and to be perfectly clear, I don't think that it is, Ethereum will likely be surpassing $5,000. And once that happens, that is when we can finally see some altcoins starting to outperform. Yes, you heard that right. In today's video, I'll be talking about exactly this, going over the most recent Bitcoin price action, what I think could be happening next, and how I am currently navigating this market. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. First and foremost, let's talk about Bitcoin. You can see that on the daily time frame, we're just continuing to chop around as per my previous analysis. Now, we still have a lot of this wick to be filled, if it is even going to be filled, but you can see here that over the past few days, we did manage to fill it ever so slightly. However, it looks like we are trying to hold support at a very key level, which is around $112,000. The reason why this is significant once again is because it coincides with one of the previous all-time highs that Bitcoin set. Now, to be perfectly clear, I don't think that we're out of the woods quite yet. I think that we could still see some chopping around for Bitcoin before it makes its next big move. At the time of recording this video, you can actually see that there is tons of liquidity on both sides here. And so on the 24-hour time frame, right below $114,000, there is tons of short liquidity. However, on the flip side, right around $111,000, there is also tons of liquidity. So it would not surprise me if we just continue to chop around. And this is typically what the liquidity heat map gives us when we just stay within a range. A lot of people going aggressively short, a lot of people going aggressively long. I wanted to also show you the fact that on the 1-day time frame, more people are piling into longs, anticipating that that was the last flush before the final leg higher. However, on the 7-day time frame, there are still significantly more shorts in the market. Same thing on the 30-day time frame. We're likely to see this continue as Bitcoin decides where it wants to go. Remember, no one knows exactly what's happening here. I need to be perfectly clear. I don't have a crystal ball, neither does any other influencer that you're watching. All we can do is react to what the market gives us. At this point in time, because this was such a significant drop, my base case was essentially just chopping around, filling the wick, which we did fill a little bit, but there is entirely a possibility here that we can go ahead and fill more of that wick before we move higher. Typically, when we get these massive moves like this, we don't just immediately V-shape reversal to all-time highs. And so I'm still expecting some form of consolidation here. Whether that means we make it all the way up to here, come back down, and we just continue to chop, that is entirely possible. But if we assume that the top is not in for this cycle, I want you to pay attention to Ethereum. You can see that Ethereum is looking stronger than ever after this move down, and we just continue to bounce around here, forming some nice long wicks to the bottom. Is it possible for these wicks to be filled? Of course it is, but my base case here is that 1, the cycle is not over, and 2, Ethereum will likely find its way back above $5,000. And you want to know what determines altcoin season? I know everyone has been talking about it over the past 2 years, screaming for altcoin season over and over again. Well, if Ethereum can actually make its way back above its previous all-time high, above $5,000, and we spend several weeks above this level, that is when we have the chance to see other altcoins really start outperforming. Until we get this confirmation, I'm not going to be touching any kind of altcoins in this market. That might disappoint you, but I'm perfectly content with holding my Bitcoin and Ethereum spot and also start dabbling into altcoins when it comes to trading them, but I will likely not be a spot holder. This is what you want to see. Break above $5,000, and this is where altcoins can finally get the relief and actually pump into the cycle end. So my base case here is that it might take a little bit more time to see the resolution of this Bitcoin price action. We can continue to bounce around. Perhaps we go and make a big move all the way up to 116. However, this cluster was the previous cluster that we rejected from, which sent Bitcoin a little bit lower at the start of this week after we got that Sunday pump. So I'm essentially just sitting on my hands, being patient here. I know it might be frustrating that I'm not saying go max long, but I do think it's important to exercise a little bit of caution because there is a world where we come back down and fill more of that wick. Now, I also wanted to show you this as it pertains to filling the wick because we covered it in a last video. Don't forget about this massive zone here around $108,000. A lot of longs piled in at this level, so I would be keeping my eyes on there. I also wanted to show you what the ETH exchange liquidation map looks like, and on the 30-day time frame, there is significantly more shorts in the market than longs. In my opinion, it will only be a matter of time before we go ahead and liquidate all of these Ethereum shorts all the way up to new all-time highs. However, in the short term, there's entirely the possibility of moving lower. I also want you to pay attention to the fact that ETH Bitcoin is actually green on the week so far, showing relative strength from Ethereum. So if Bitcoin just continues to consolidate here, even in the short term, before making its next big move, we can likely see Ethereum play catch up and continue to pump. However, as soon as Bitcoin makes its next big move, that will likely determine where the rest of the market goes. So whether we come back down, fill a little bit of the wick, of course, Ethereum and other crypto assets will see continued corrections. But if we consolidate here and Bitcoin does decide to break out to the upside, I think that Ethereum will be a massive outperformer. So my point is, keep your eyes on Ethereum. I think Ethereum is the best risk-adjusted trade in this market at this current point in time as we approach the end of this bull market cycle. I also wanted to cover some quick news. I mean, we have some influencers that are already calling for the top to be in for potentially going as low as $70,000. Guys, if this happens, it is obviously completely over. And if you're new to the channel, what would be my invalidation? Well, if we start breaking below this key pivot that sent us on this current leg of the bull market cycle, it's at that point in time that I would be willing to call it quits. Now we have it right at $98,000, a very, very crucial level. If Bitcoin decides to move lower, I do think that everyone that's entering massive positions on longs at this point in time will get absolutely wrecked. And so I do need you to exercise a little bit of caution. I'm just telling you exactly what I'm doing in this market. I have not entered any kind of aggressive trades quite yet. I want to see proper resolution here. And I do think that it's likely that we continue to chop around, as you can see by my amazing drawings. I also wanted to give an update on the Hyperliquid Whale. He did go ahead and close all of his shorts yesterday. You can see that if I go on the perps tab, he has no active position open, and on transactions, he has been withdrawing all of his funds. He actually made around $92 million net profit, not too shabby. And as we wrap up this quick update, what did Jerome Powell have to say yesterday? Well, he came out and said that economic growth before the government shutdown may actually be better than expected. He also alluded to the fact that in the upcoming months, quantitative tightening could be ending. Now, it's very important that you understand that just because quantitative tightening is ending, it doesn't mean that we immediately enter into quantitative easing, in other words, money printing. And some other small updates here. I mean, yesterday, the US government seized $15 billion worth of Bitcoin from pig butchering scam based in Cambodia. Thought it was interesting to share with you. And we also have the fact that gold crossed $4,200 an ounce for the first time in history. Gold is now up 60% in 2025 alone. Absolutely insane. So this is the chance for Bitcoin to really play catch up here if what everyone is talking about comes to fruition. I know that we say that Bitcoin is digital gold. Over time, in my opinion, Bitcoin will find itself in that class, but right now it should still be considered a risk asset. And to wrap up this video, I still think that the top of this bull market cycle is not in. We will be moving higher, and the highest risk-adjusted return trade, in my opinion, will be Ethereum. So keep your eyes on ETH. And that sums up today's video. I know it was a relatively quick update, but there was not much to update on as Bitcoin just continues to chop around, and I am eyeing the charts every second of the day to wait for a proper entry before I can go max long. There is still a possibility to grab some downside liquidity within that wick, so pay attention. I would not be very aggressive with your trades at this point in time. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.